Hi Aries, welcome to your weekly love reading. What's going on this week for you in terms of love? The Ace of Cups in reverse, the Seven of Pentacles in reverse, the Seven of Cups in reverse, the Queen of Swords in reverse, and the Eight of Cups in reverse. So why did this person walk away? With this Eight of Cups in reverse, I'm really feeling as though they didn't want to walk away, but they felt like they had to. Okay, so I wanted to do all these wonderful things for you, but then you started to expect it. It made me feel taken for granted. So definitely an element of this person feeling unappreciated. I feel like that definitely contributed to them walking away. They may have felt as though, I don't know, like some of you may feel as though this is your soulmate or your twin flame. So it may have given you over time this kind of expectation that you would always end up together somehow. Perhaps this person felt as though you weren't putting your best foot forward anymore, or you were taking the relationship for granted. If you felt as though it was guaranteed that you're going to be together, you may have, not put as much work in or something like that. Some kind of stagnation may have started happening here, because there's a Three of Pentacles in reverse as well. This is like a lack of cooperation. Some of you may not have even consciously realized that you weren't cooperating with this person. I feel like some of you felt emotionally burnt out in this connection, and so you needed a breather. You needed to take a step back. You needed a rest. You needed to rejuvenate your energies, and this person may have felt that meant you no longer cared, or they just felt like you weren't putting in as much effort or something like that. You may have burnt yourself out because in the past you were putting in a lot of effort and you were really wanting them to invest equally in the connection. But perhaps this person couldn't invest equally, and so when you stopped investing, perhaps then it did just kind of drift away. You thought I wasn't being my real self with you. Look in the mirror, you were shutting me off with your masks too. So I feel this contributes to this energy of a lack of cooperation. They felt like you weren't being honest with them. They felt like you weren't being upfront. And this could have literally just been wearing masks. Like you may have tried to impress them. You may have given and given and given because you're trying to prove your worthiness. You're trying to convince them to commit to you. You may have not have felt good enough, and so you're trying to prove your worth. But this person really just needed you to know your worth. They really needed you to love yourself. And again, I feel like many of you are going to be thinking that what I'm saying is more about how they were and what you wanted from them, but this person felt the same way for you, whether you realized it or not. I feel like some of you didn't realize just how much you were mirroring each other in this way. So this is about an energetic dynamic. I feel like neither of you were fully in the vibration of self-love. Neither of you were aligned with the love vibration. And so you couldn't, give and receive love with each other. You couldn't align with each other in a harmonious way. Because there is the Devil in reverse as well. I feel like a Tower moment happened because you were holding on to each other in a codependent way. Like neither of you are fully being honest. There is the Seven of Cups in reverse here. This is about illusion and confusion. So there could have been fantasies projected into this connection. And by that I mean you both had intense fears of rejection is what I'm feeling. And so you may have worn masks, you may have tried, because this is a card where this person wants to be looked up to. You may have both, you know, tried to impress the other, but it meant you weren't being true to yourselves. Like, I feel that a lot of you have had a really deep, like, soul connection with this person. Like, it felt electric, it felt magnetic, it felt heavenly, it felt so exciting. And I feel like both of you may have got carried away with that and it became ungrounded. There may have been a 5D kind of element going on here where you connected to this person telepathically. You felt each other's emotions, you knew what each other was thinking at any given moment, but there was like a physical separation. And I feel like both of you were just so in awe of this energy, in awe of this connection. Like, I feel perhaps this was part of the soul contract where you were supposed to have this connection from afar, but because you felt so connected in the 5D through telepathy, it was making you feel more connected to your soul. It was making you feel more connected to your soul family, the universe, the divine. And I feel like this was part of the contract to keep you awakening, to help you both align with your true soul identity, because we are infinite souls who incarnate here to have a temporary human experience. And you know, when we incarnate, we have amnesia. So for a long time we believe who we are is this human being in this current lifetime. We think who we are is determined by our job, our relationship status, whether we think we're a good person or a bad person, what people have, you know, the feedback we've received from other people, you know, other people's opinions of us. You know, we collect all this data, all this information together, and we think that that is who we are. But it's not. That's an illusion. Who we truly are is our soul identity that incarnates many, many times. It's the infinite essence of who we are in all lifetimes and, you know, beyond the 3D. And so I feel one of the main reasons why you weren't coming together with this person, why the connection wasn't grounding in the 3D, is because you had this really powerful soul contract where things weren't supposed to be grounded. You were supposed to, you know, explore these other dimensions that this connection lifted you up into. You know, exploring who you truly are. And this was helping you to align with your true soul self. And this is what helps, you know, with awakening, with healing wounds, with knowing your true worth. You know, it helps us to release the stories that the ego or the false identity creates about ourselves. You know, taking everything personally. This person rejected me because I'm unlovable. You know, that's just a story. You met each other in order to lift you up, raise you both up into your true consciousness. And so this felt magical to you both. This felt heavenly. It was like heaven on earth. But then, you know, because we're humans, and this is partially, well, one of the main factors of this awakening is that the breaking down of the ego, the false identity, the illusion, you know, the illusory perspective of self, which isn't real. It breaks that down, breaks the ego identity down. And so, you know, part of this connection that you had with each other, part of this involved, you know, projecting fantasies onto the connection. There was a lot of reality here. Your connection is real. You connected with your true selves. You connected with the divine. You became more aware of reality, but also there was this element of the ego being uplifted, or the ego being boosted, the illusions being built up even more, like the fantasy elements, like and by that I mean, you know, holding on to each other, but always thinking of the future, maybe even talking to each other about the future, like in the future we're going to be together, but you know, there was fears of doing that right now, or you know, more accurately, there was still this ego illusion going on, which meant you were out of alignment and couldn't align, you couldn't ground fully. And so it built up this realization of your true selves, but it also built up the illusions, it built up the ego, and that was building and building and building and building and building within your connection, so then it could fully crash down. A really tough lesson here. You know, the masks, they had to crumble. This idea that I've got to pretend that I'm someone else to be lovable, to be accepted, to be loved, for this person to commit to me. You know, those illusions were being built up and built up and built up because you both felt as though the masks were making your connection solid, but it was blocking the true alignment on this soul level, the true inner union with knowing who you truly are, therefore knowing your true worth. You know, everything was heightened, everything was built up so that the illusions could be broken down eventually. But then you'd already created this firm foundation through this connection, building up your true self. So I hope this is making sense. Like, there was a lot of truth in this connection beyond what either of you had ever known before. This soul awakening. And equally, because we are on a planet of duality, those illusions, the ego was being boosted by this connection. Illusions, masks, the deception kind of energy, how we deceive ourselves, how we deceive each other in order to try and feel some kind of safety. That came crashing down. But you were strong, because along the way you had become very solid, very secure within this spiritual truth. So that was a really intense channeled message there, but some of you may have just felt like it was this other person who wasn't being their true self. They were wearing a mask. You felt that they were worrying too much about their appearance, like what you thought them or what other people thought them. They wanted other people to boost their ego. They wanted you to boost their ego. They became codependent upon you to build up that ego for them. And then it came crashing down, so they'd have to create their own self-esteem, and the same happened for you. So the reason why this person left is because it's all part of this soul contract. It wasn't just, oh, they decided to leave for, you know, no reason, or the main reason is this soul contract. This was supposed to happen to break down illusions, to make you both create your own self-worth in a really powerful way, helping you both, because you're both chained to each other through codependency, through fear, through illusions, but also there was, you know, the unbreakable bond, the truth. So this is why the devil's in reverse. The main reason for this tower moment, for them walking away, was in order to break those chains of codependency so that you can have this alignment within yourselves and alignment with each other in the true form, in the soul form, without the illusions, without the fears, basically. And look, the world, the conclusion of this is, you know, you're no longer chained to each other. There's this freedom here, liberation. You know, this was a major karmic lesson. Doesn't mean it was just a karmic relationship, but you had a lot of lessons to heal. and face to do with your biggest fears coming true. You know, deep down this person was in a lot of fear, a lot of insecurity, not feeling good enough about themselves, thinking about the worst case scenarios. They were really worried that your connection was going to break down. And so, you know, this is what the energy they were in when they're all by themselves. This is how they really felt. But when they were out in public, they were making out that they were much more confident, they're much more happy. You know, some of them, you know, even though it sounds immature, they may have tried to, you know, show you how attractive they are to other people, because they felt like that would, you know, boost their image and make them more attractive in your eyes. You know, they were trying to prove that to themselves because they didn't feel attractive or they didn't feel good enough. So wearing a mask, maybe withholding their emotions, how they truly felt, because they were trying to appear confident and strong. But yeah, the Ace of Cups in reverse, it's a lack of self-love within both of you, not being able to give or receive love fully, because there was a lack of peace within your own individual hearts. So that was what was manifesting between you. Disharmony within and disharmony within your connection. Pentacles in reverse. Seven of Pentacles in reverse. So this to me was impatience. Perhaps this person felt as though things weren't going to ground. They felt as though things weren't going to work out. They felt like it was all this illusion and it wasn't going to become something real. Some of you, it could have been that you felt that way with the Queen of Swords in reverse. You may have got annoyed at this person. You may try to force things along. This person didn't want to walk away, but they felt like they had to. With that Eight of Cups in reverse. Also, this Seven of Pentacles, it's saying that both of you were investing a lot within this connection. You were trying to sow the seeds. You were trying to make things work, but it's like you were doing it in the illusion kind of way, in a codependent kind of way, which was actually creating blocks. So there needed to be a rebirth, basically, and that's what this Tower moment represented. Forcing you both to let go of the codependent connection, so that you could align more with the soul truth. And it's like the unconditional love now is much more, you're aligned much more with that unconditional love for yourselves and for each other, because of releasing expectations, fears, codependencies, releasing the fantasy, being much more honest with yourselves. So the connection can become much more honest, much more grounded. We are mirrors. We both tried to chase emotionally unavailable people to heal our abandonment wounds. So this person was emotionally unavailable because they weren't loving themselves. But this is saying that you're mirrors and you weren't loving yourself, so you were emotionally unavailable to them as well. Anytime anyone's wearing a mask, it means they're unavailable. They're hiding behind that mask. They're hiding behind the walls. And I feel like you're both doing that. So you're both emotionally unavailable. So you were both chasing each other by trying to appear to be something that really you didn't feel like you were. Trying to appear much more confident or much more powerful, much more stable than what you really felt. This could mean that for some of you, this person chased someone else. Like if you were giving and giving and giving and you were always there for this person, they may have had like childhood wounds of, you know, feeling abandoned and rejected. So they may have chased someone else who was running away from them because it was subconsciously their inner child trying to get someone emotionally unavailable to love them. So if you were too available to them on a certain level, you know, and you were offering everything to them on a plate kind of thing, there was still a subconscious part of their inner child that was trying to chase someone emotionally unavailable. So, you know, that may have been someone else they started chasing. And that may have really upset some of you, because you may have seen this other person was using and abusing this person, but this was them trying to subconsciously work out this whole need to love self and not basing sense of self-worth on someone else, his opinion of them. If my true needs were being met, then I'd be with you. Something was missing. So this is really saying that you didn't fully understand this person's needs, or because we have, I know you were trying your best, but your ways of trying to show me love have actually made me feel rejected. So yeah, if you were giving and giving and giving and chasing this person, then they felt as though you didn't really trust that they had the capability to truly be there for you. You felt that they weren't capable of putting in the real work, or being an equal in the relationship, and so that's why you were putting in all the work. And then they felt that that was an indirect rejection because you thought that they were incompetent, or you weren't accepting what they could offer you because you felt like they should be offering you more, and they felt like they couldn't live up to that, and they felt like you were in love with a fantasy that you projected onto them, or you were in love with their potential, but not what they were actually giving you, or not who they actually were in that moment. And so that's also why they walked away. They may have, you know, just felt that you're not really letting them get close to you because you're being unrealistic about what they can do for you or what they were giving to you. So yeah, just this deeper sense of their real needs weren't being met. I feel like this person needs to feel that they are looked up to, that what they give is enough. They may have, you know, some of them may have met someone else where they felt that those needs were being met. And you know, you may have seen this person giving more and being an equal in that relationship with the other person, but they weren't with you. And a lot of it was to do with the sheer intensity of your connection as well, and you know, the emotional upheaval, feeling emotionally all over the place because of the awakening, because of the breaking down of the ego. And so, you know, it's not easy to be harmonious when all that intense life lessons are happening. And thank you so much.